Okay, here I am with my doofus hat and my stained shirt, not bothering to center everything here like I probably should, but I'll do it just while I'm talking. How's that? So, I remember in early sobriety for a long time, man, it's like I kept waiting for the other boot to drop, always waiting for the next bad thing to happen. And it was odd that some of those belief systems were still in my brain, even though a brand new part of me was so happy, joyous, and free. It's like these things both existed for me. And it was a very curious thing because, but when I look at that stuff, I just wonder how I got through some of it. I think it was just a miracle and hanging out with good people and going to a boatload of meetings and doing my best to serve God and my fellow human beings. And I remember at some point, something had flipped, and I just felt this expectation that something really good was always about to happen. And that lasted for quite a while. It wasn't permanent. So now I'm somewhere in between the two, I guess. I don't know. So, but I was thinking about how in our society, we have so many parallels to clinical depression, I guess, and broken belief systems. And I think partly what got me in trouble was my broken belief systems. And, I became my experiences to some extent. And I hadn't had a whole lot of good experiences in life. It's like my sponsor used to say, trust isn't the first thing on a person's mind after they've been abused. So it's like, those words never graced my consciousness until I heard them from her. And that is why we need to show up in each other's lives and say, I love you. I care about you. I see you. And I remember telling somebody several times that I could see them because in the spirit, I could see them. And they just looked at me like I'm giving them some code or something. And I wasn't. It was a spiritual thing. But we have our preconceptions that somehow kick the door shut on a better ride. I do it every day. I'll think something negative for no good reason that I can identify. I can come up with a reason or two or three or 20 or 30. But, it's just like, the doom and gloom cult. It just seems to be taken over, It's like people suck, life sucks, you can't trust the system. And if you don't think like me, then I can't trust you either. And in fact, I'm going to get in your face over it or whatever because of the motivation of anger and fear and all this stuff, right? So it's kind of like climate change, that apocalyptic consciousness of climate change. There's no solid proof that what humans are doing is going to permanently screw up this planet. I don't know. I kind of think the planet will let us die before it dies. So the only ones we're killing is ourselves. We're not going to kill this planet. And its spirit will survive, just like our spirit will survive. Our spirits can see the light 24/7 and is always going exactly toward the light, even though it looks like our lives are going every which direction, because our physical body usually can't see the light. So, and we think that we're off our spiritual path or someone else is off a spiritual path because they're not on what we perceive as our spiritual path. But it's impossible for any of us to be off of our spiritual path. It can't happen. God's unconditional love meets us exactly where we are at, period, end of story. And that's also the beginning of the story. The beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, I guess. And some of these are Christian terms. I think Christ would have probably rebelled against the word Christian if it was labeled on him, because he kept redirecting our attention back to, our Creator in heaven. And he says, I do nothing except for what I've seen my Father do in heaven. And, he said, call no man master. And, and he kept redirecting our attention back to God. And so a lot of us are running around saying, well, Jesus is God. Well, I'm not trying to argue that point and poo-poo anything. And, I'm just seeing a lot of excuses about why we can't love each other. And the scripture says that he who doesn't have love doesn't know God, because God is love. And the first commandment is to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second is to love others as we love ourselves. And, good luck with any of those two commandments, but we do the best we can with what we have. But it doesn't mean because we fail at it that God sucks at it. So, we don't get ready to meet God so much as we meet God to get ready. At least that's what, again, my old sponsor used to tell me. So there's some words to, percolate in your mind, and, kind of dump the apocalyptic vision of what's going on today. And, if that's going to happen, it's going to happen, And if the second coming is around the corner, like they've been saying it's coming for the last couple thousand years, then it is. But I tend to think that maybe that's a personal thing. It's like a second coming happens in all of our lives at some point or other. I don't know. I always wondered about that one, So I've also seen people pray, and it seems to me there is something in the Hebrew Bible about God repenting of what he was going to do because of someone's prayer. So, maybe that's why we're still here. So think about it. Remember to tell 3 people a day that you love them. If you don't, you've wasted a day of your life. And I love you. Pass it on. Peace out.